Hello, I'm Andy and welcome to Vectra News, your fill of gaming news for the week of the 11th of July 2015. Coming up in this week's episode, a sizable chunk of Hitman will be included at launch, Sega's CEO says we've lost the trust of older fans, Ubisoft sales fall, and Kojima Productions has been disbanded. In a Q&A on the Hitman website, part of the game's launch schedule has been set. The game will cost $60 when released on the 8th of December, and it states that on launch you won't receive all of the content. On the 8th, players will get a sizable chunk of the game according to IO Entertainment, with more locations and missions being released through 2016 until the story arc is done and finished. The Q&A then goes on to explain that the game is neither going to be episodic or early access, explaining that the content will be complete and polished. It also explained that IO don't see the game as episodic, as the extra content will not just be story, it will also include the live events too. It seems that this approach is similar to that of Splatoon, which has been drip feeding players new maps and weapons, along with some Splatfest since its launch last month. This is a bit of a strange approach for Hitman, especially if parts of the story are being held back. Personally, I've started to dislike episodic games more and more recently. I know that they say it's not an episodic game, however, really, the holding back of story and releasing it at a later date essentially is episodic. The main reason for this really is due to the break in story. It ruins my immersion a bit in games. I don't have an issue that all of the live stuff is coming later though, provided the content is well put together and the game is actually playable. It will keep people coming back to it, and they say it's going to be free with all of the rest of the content, so you can't complain at that. At least they're not slapping a load of DLC on us. If I were to put my cynical hat on though, the delayed release of parts makes me think this is just IO Entertainment buying time to further polish these parts, and will give them time to make sure that the initial part consumers are getting doesn't get delayed further and further into 2016. When Hitman does release on the 8th of December, it will be releasing on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. According to a translated interview with Famitsu, the CEO and president of Sega, Naoki Satomi, said that Sega should start putting serious consideration into quality from this point on, especially in North America and Europe, where it's always been more of a focus on schedules. I believe that if we can't maintain quality, it would be better not to release anything at all. We did our best to build a relationship of mutual trust with older fans of Sega, but looking back, there have been some titles that have particularly betrayed that in the last 10 years. Sega in the 90s was known for its brand, but after that we've lost trust and we're left with nothing but reputation. For this reason, we'd like to win back the customer's trust and become a brand once again. I have to say that I've been very disappointed with some of the products that Sega have put their name to in the last few years. My biggest disappointments have really been Aliens Colonial Marines, which, my god, I think everyone was disappointed with, and also Sonic 4. I have to say I was very wary of Alien Isolation when Sega were coined as the producer, but you know, that actually was a fairly decent game. The last Sonic game, Sonic Boom, had really poor sales figures as well. Back in March 2015, the game had sold 620,000 units, that's in the UK, Japan and USA, and that's for Wii U and 3DS. Now this could either be due to the system's install base, as everyone knows that the Wii U hasn't particularly been doing that well, or it could just be the lack of confidence coming through. These figures are really pale when you compare it to the original Sonic's 16 million copies that it sold. However, that is slightly unfair, I feel, to compare the two, as Sega did have a dedicated system back then. Sega are, however, due to talk about something new at the Tokyo Game Show in September, so I guess that will really show us if they live up to this promise, although, again, using Aliens Colonial Marines as a bit of a baseline for this, that game was shown off and it didn't represent the final quality. Hopefully, Sega won't disappoint us again. Ubisoft has revealed its financial data for the quarter that ended on the 30th of June 2015, which reports a 73% decline in sales year on year to €96.6 million. This exceeds their target of €80 million though, but it's nowhere near the earnings from the same period last year, which actually totaled €360.1 million. Last quarter's stronger than expected performance, according to Ubisoft, was attributed to the increase of back catalogue sales, better than expected performance of Assassin's Creed Unity, and sustained demand for Far Cry 4, The Crew and Watch Dogs. The breakdown of sales were as follows: PlayStation 4 had 27% of the market, PC 23%, Xbox One 360 and PlayStation 3, all with 11% each, Wii U sales at 3%, and other such devices such as mobiles at 14%. It's actually quite surprising though how the 360 and Xbox One both have exactly the same sales, especially as the Xbox One's been out for a couple of years, about the same time as the PlayStation. However, the PlayStation 4 has got more than the 3 sales. What's also quite surprising is the fact that PC sales are the second highest, especially after some of the quality issues that Ubisoft has had recently, with Assassin's Creed Unity being one of the main contenders for how not to port a PC game and release it. For quarter 2 of the fiscal year, Ubisoft are predicting that they'll have sales of 90 million euros. This figure will have to come from sales of their current titles, as their next big releases of Anno 2205 and The Crew Wild Run are scheduled to come out in November. Hopefully both of these will have some smooth, bug-free launches. One can only hope though. According to the Japanese voice actor Akaya Otsuka, Kojima Productions has been disbanded and is no more. Over the last few months, the state of Kojima Productions hasn't really been known by everyone, although flags have started to raise when the company's logo started to disappear from Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain's box art and trailers. To be really honest, I don't think this news is actually a surprise to anyone who has been keeping up with all of the happenings around Konami, especially with their cutback on their video game focus, Silent Hill's cancellation, another game that Kojima Productions were working on, and reports that Kojima will be leaving Konami in December, soon after MGS5's release, along with the senior staff who are all working as contractors. These have all really pointed towards Kojima Productions' closure, I guess. The news hasn't actually officially been mentioned by Konami yet, but if and when it does, I don't think it's going to come as a surprise by anyone at all. But that's all from Vectra News this week. Don't forget to like, favourite, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook to keep up to date with everything in the network. But, as always, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.